So you're a guitar player. If so, then pentatonic scales are going to be a big part of your life. Today, I've got some ideas to help make your pentatonic practice time a little more enjoyable and a lot more rewarding. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome, friends, to this episode of the Play Guitar Podcast. I am Lee, and this is the podcast that's determined to make you a better guitar player. No matter if you're just starting out or you've been playing for years, this is the show that will help you become the guitar player that you always wanted to be. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and then check out the description for all of the links from the show. If you've ever spent any time, 5, 10 minutes, hours daily, if you've ever tried to practice your pentatonic scales, you may have found that you find it more interesting to watch paint dry than go up and down these scale patterns. But then, when you actually have to use them, something happens. You find out you don't know them near well enough to make good music from them. This is our problem. This is where the problem sits for a lot of aspiring guitar players. Today, in this podcast, I'm going to give you 5 tips that are both going to liven up your practice time, but also get a ton more results than you would expect from the time that you put in. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want. And so we're going to jump right into it today. There's not going to be a lot of extra stuff in this podcast. We're going straight to it, right? Number one, the question I get asked constantly, you give a scale sheet to someone or you download a scale sheet and you look at these patterns and you see these patterns. They're, the key of G, 1, 4, 1, 3, third fret, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4. That's the scale pattern we all learn. It's a lot of fun to play, but there's something we all notice right away. The very first thing we notice is that the paper says we're supposed to play first finger, fourth finger, first finger, third finger, first finger, third finger, first finger, third finger, first finger, fourth, first finger, fourth. That's what the 1s and 4s are for, right? So we learn these and we play them, and then we go and look at our favorite guitar players and see what they're doing. It doesn't look the same. So the very first question I get is like, do I have to use my pinky on these top strings? Those right here, because I see my favorite players using their third finger to bend the strings. And bending the strings in the pentatonic patterns it's important. It's part of the sound of these licks and songs. If you had to do that with your pinky, what's the big difference? What's the difference between your fourth finger and your third finger? The pinky's smaller. That's the only difference, right? How am I supposed to bend with my pinky? It doesn't make you feel confident that your bends are going to reach the note that you're intending to get to. What's the rule with this? Well, the rule for me personally, I don't know what anyone else says, but this is just my deal. I know in my own playing, from not paying attention and just playing and then looking back at what I've played, I tend to, if I'm playing fast, I use it as written. I use my pinky, 1, 4, 1, 4 on the top 4 string. But if I'm playing slow, anything where I would be using a bend or I'm playing if a normal speed to a slow speed, I'm always substituting that pinky for the third finger. And I'm also putting my second finger down behind it to give it support. So I've got these 2 very strong fingers, both in control of the note that I'm about to bend. Right? Very, very smart thing to do. And a lot of new players and a lot of players have been playing for a long time who just think, well, I'm just playing it wrong, but it's the way I play. So, maybe. No, this is perfectly acceptable. You don't have to play it the way that it's written. Everything that I try to teach is from experience, is from this works when you're in a room full of people who are expecting you to play something good. These are the things that work in a pinch. Once you know the difference between the two and where 9 times out of 10, I'm going to play the third finger for slow bends and the fourth finger for speed. What I like to do is to practice that both ways. So here's pattern 1. I might go up and down the scale with the fourth finger and then switch on the high notes to the third finger. Now, I show a lot of these in pattern 1 because that's what everyone's familiar with, but pattern 2 is the same way. So pattern 2 in the key of G, we're going to start at the 6th fret, 2, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 3. Now, in pattern 2 on the top 4 strings, as written, as you get these scale sheets, it says 2, 4, 2, 4, which is a little odd for people. We're used to using our first finger all the time. So second finger, fourth finger, second finger, fourth finger. And I understand why it's done, because that puts everything in position. That means the first finger gets everything at the 5th fret, second finger gets everything that's at the 6th, third finger, everything at the 7th, fourth finger, everything at the 8th. So it makes it very mathematical, logical, everything makes sense. But when we play, no one cares about that. So we're going to go up here, and instead of just changing the fourth finger to the third finger, we're also going to swap out the second finger with the first finger. So instead of playing it 2, 4, we're going to play it 1, 3 on the top 2 strings. We can really get some very nice bends. It's very easy to do. And we've got our first finger, second finger, and third finger all down at the same time to make a very strong, very confident bend right there. What's another way we could practice these and get a little bit more out of them? We're going to turn the extensions, these minor pentatonic extensions that a lot of people like to play, into whole patterns. There's comfort in pattern 1. It's home base. Everyone likes to just stay there, and it's for good reason. It's easy to play. It sounds fantastic, sounds awesome, but there's a whole big world out there. At some point, you grow up, you get past high school, and it's time to get out there on your own and examine that big world that's out there full of fretboard real estate, all this real estate that you're not taking advantage of. When you play pattern 1, and you realize, hey, I'm out of notes and I need something higher. My favorite player will go up and get some higher notes than pattern 1 pattern 1 ends here. But I need that note, or I need that note, right? So what do? Is we go up and we slide up 2 frets on the top 2 strings. A lot of people call that the extension, the pattern 1 extension. That little box, it's a little extension box on top of the blues box, that is what's commonly, pattern 1 is commonly called. That's just the top of a whole new pattern. This is the top of pattern 2. And pattern 2 is fantastic. And you're not playing it. There are so many different sounds. And just from the way that the notes sit in the scale in pattern 2, sit on the strings, you could play the same scale, the same pattern, the same lick voiced here, and it's going to sound a little bit different. So what I like to do is to go up to that extension, but when I work my way back down, I'm going through the whole pattern 2 scale right there. That way I'm learning both patterns and I'm not just making my home base a little bit more comfortable. The next way is, what if you need some lower notes? The extensions go on the other way too. the extension problem sits on the low end as well as the high end. What happens there? So we're in pattern 1 here. I'm in the key of G, 3rd fret. What if I wanted a lower note, right? This is the bottom of my pattern 1, and I need something a little bit lower. What am I going to do there? Well, I'm going to borrow it from the one before. I'm going to extend the scale lower. And a lot of people will actually play on the A string as well. 1, 3, 1, 3, 1st fret, 3rd fret, 1st fret, 3rd fret on the E and the A string. But then they'll slide right back up into pattern 1. Well, I'm here to tell you, there's a whole other pattern there. It's called pattern 5. It's a fantastic pattern. Pattern 5 is one that when we learn this, when you see it on the scale sheet, it's not the most exciting looking one. It's very symmetrical. It's very angular. But when you start to play it, your scales work in that pattern in very interesting ways. One of the things is in the middle. The 2 middle strings in pattern 5 are the same an octave down of the 2 high strings in pattern 1. Anytime you like something that you're playing in pattern 1, you can just drop that down to the middle 2 strings, back a pattern, and it'll work fretted exactly the same way. The notes are exactly the same, just an octave down. It's a really neat way to get a little bit more out of your scale patterns. If you are finding value in this podcast, if I'm helping you out, do me a favor, leave a review with your podcast player. Just take a look down at it and it'll say, leave a review. Hit that button and leave me one. I would really appreciate it. It really makes a very, very big difference. Number 3, we're going to be talking about switching patterns. If you're getting bored going up and down the scale for practice, switching patterns can get you out of your rut pretty darn quickly. So find a lick you like and test yourself. I'm going to start to challenge myself. I'm going to start to find how many different ways can I play this same lick across the guitar? How many other patterns can I use to play this same lick or an octave of this lick? Doing this regularly can start to open the fretboard and open up your patterns in a really cool way. It makes you rely on something other than your memory of the shapes. It makes you rely on your ear, your musical ear. So let's take a look. So this starts on a D, F, G, B flat. Those are the 4 notes. So let's get here pattern 2. Those same notes in pattern 5 in the middle strings, on the high strings for pattern 1, and pattern 2, they're on the A string and the D string. I'm playing the same lick 3 different ways in 3 different patterns. Let's see here. Back now in pattern 4 for G. So pattern 4 has it on the very 2 low string. Now we're back up to pattern 5. It's in the 2 middle ones up here on the 12th fret. Then we're back to the octave. So many different ways of playing. I'm just playing one easy, super easy lick, and I can play that in multiple different places on the guitar. And it sounds a little bit different. The strings you're using might make it sound warmer one place or the other place. One place might be easier to bend the note, so you might throw a little bend in there. There's all sorts of different things that you can do to spice up these licks and make your practice time a lot more enjoyable. Not entertaining, just enjoyable. Number 4 is something that a lot of people are afraid to do. And this will help you so much. And that is a little ear training, a little singing along with your playing. Sing your intervals. Sing the notes as you go up and down your scale patterns. What? I can't do that. Somebody else might hear me. Someone in the house might hear me trying to sing along with my guitar playing. Can you believe that would be the end of the world? I couldn't handle it. You can handle it. Sing to yourself, sing quietly. You hear everyone kind of sings quietly to themselves, right? But I'm not talking about words. I'm just talking about, let's do the intervals. I said the intervals in this one. So that's one, just say one, right? Then this is a B flat, but it's the minor third. So I'm going to say 1 minor third, 4, 5. So 1 minor third, 4, 5, or I'll say flat 3. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. Right? But I'm doing it a little loud here. I'm sure the whole house can hear me, but I could go 1 minor third, 1 flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, 1 flat 3, 4, flat 3, 1, flat 7, 1, flat 3, 4, 5. Doing that for your scale practice is really, really good for you. Really good for you. Even if you never let anyone else hear it, if you just do it quietly. But what you're doing is reinforcing the information you've learned, what these intervals are. Now you're hearing them on the guitar. That's two things that are going on. And then you're singing them back. You're reacting to them. You're matching them with your voice. This is going to create some serious, awesome pathways for you to be able to pull these things, get ideas from them, make it easy to play. It's just fantastic. And then you can kind of do the cool singing along with your playing thing too. What's another thing you can do? With ear change, you could jump intervals. So 1, flat 7, 5. You could even say 1 flat 7, 5. 1 minor third, flat third, 4 left third, 1 flat 7, 5, 4 flat 3, 1. Right? Hey, if I can do this on a podcast, you can do this in your house when nobody's really paying attention to you. Match your singing to random notes. Just pick a random one and figure out flat 7. Try and match it to you. I've got a 1, a flat 3, a 5, a 4, 5, and a flat 7. Try and see if you can match them. You'll be wrong the first couple times, but you might start to be able to pick these notes out of the air. And that's going to help you learn songs really well. Good stuff. Good stuff. Number 5, linking patterns. There are many different ways to move from pattern to pattern, not just going all the way up, all the way back, and then sliding up and doing the next one all the way up and all the way back, right? There are many different ways we can move. We tend to stick to one or two of these. Most people, they'll do one or two of these and they'll do them over and over and over again. It could be you go up to the high E string and then you slide up to the next one, right? Or you go up to a lot of people like to slide on the G string. Let me see if I can. So you'll see. They like to use the G as I call it the transport string. Or they'll go all the way up. They'll exhaust the pattern until they still need notes, and then they'll slide up there. And you'll see it on the way back. The G string as the transport string, and then going back on the A string on the low notes, right? Well, the thing is, this is the beginning of a rut. This is the beginning of you getting set in your ways. Changing up your scale practice can do a lot of good things. It can keep you interested and it can keep you on the right path. There's a lot of different ways that you can bust through this rut. Single string exercises. So you can say, okay, I'm just going to play all the notes. We did a whole podcast, I think, on single string exercises. Just going up and down one string and trying to learn all the notes in the scale on one string. It's really good for you. Moving back and forth. You can do that on all 6 strings. Then it's nothing for you to move back and forth between patterns. Doesn't matter what string that you're sliding from. Isolating the string for transport. I'm going to choose the D string to be my string that I move from one pattern to the next. I use my first finger on the 3rd fret on D and then slid that up to the 5th finger. And that puts me right in pattern 2 right there. So I could do the B string. any string, I can move back and forth between the patterns. It's really important. Zigzagging. That's another fun thing to do. What zigzagging is going up one pattern and sliding up to the next when you run out of notes, then go back. Now I'm in pattern 2. I'm going to go back pattern 2. But now I'm going to go up, slide up the low string to pattern 3. Now I'm going to go up the low string to pattern 3. And then I'm going to go back and slide up to pattern 4 and go back out. So we're climbing up one pattern and climbing down the next, climbing up one pattern, climbing down the next, zigzagging across. That's a really fun way to practice your scales and not get in the rut of just playing them up and down, up and down, up and down. Now, if you are interested in taking the next step and learning all patterns of all 4 of the most common scales, download my Big 4 Scale Pattern Worksheet. The Big 4 Scale Pattern Worksheet is a worksheet that when you master that, you'll be able to play all of your major pentatonic, minor, and minor pentatonic scales all over the fretboard in any key, no matter where your hand is on the guitar. That is solid, next level stuff that you will want to be able to do. If you want to have this solid scale chops and truly understand the fretboard, then get your free guitar worksheet in the description below. Okay, I'm going to call it. Thanks for hanging out with me today, talking about pentatonic scales. And I'm going to call it. That's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar podcast. Make sure to hit the button below to subscribe to the show. And if you have benefited from this podcast, please leave a favorable Apple Podcasts, iTunes, or just in your podcast app that you're listening to right now. It's the best way to make sure we get this very valuable content to more guitar players around the world. And if more help, structure, and results in your guitar playing sound good to you, we're over at the Academy. We're having a great time over there. Join the world's most exciting and carefully playing guitar system, and together we will build your online home base for guitar. Thanks again. I'll see everyone on the next episode.